Well, first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to have the opportunity to be back here at Abhayagiri Monastery. I was last here about 3 years ago, and owing to the pandemic, there was a bit of a break in the rhythm of my visits here. But I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to gather together with everyone at this time to be here. Also now Ajahn Amaro is the sole abbot, and to be here, and not just to be being sort of a polite guest, but just to express my appreciation and admiration for the wonderful job he's been doing, and seeing the development of the place, not just in terms of physical structures and things on the ground, but also in terms of community. I've only been here a couple of days, but as far as I can tell, it's a very good community spirit, and people are keen to join the community and be part of things, and the mood, the atmosphere seems to be very energetic and positive, and with the quality of harmony. I'm not sure, but I would guess there's probably a few people thinking, "Oh, Ajahn, if only you knew." But not reading anybody's minds, but just to give my impression, at least from being here for a couple of days, there's a very tangible and wholesome quality of good-heartedness and enthusiasm, commitment to the practice, the training, and a wonderful spirit to the place. Sometimes when people come across Buddhist teachings or spiritual teachings, then sometimes the idea of development or having a goal is something that is looked down upon. But that you have spiritual teachings like I think Krishnamurti said, "Truth is a pathless land," or you have teachings like a journey without a goal. And there can be a way sometimes the idea of a goal or a destination or development is somehow contrary to true spiritual reality, and that, or somehow getting in the way, or a digression from the true spirituality. And that if you're being really spiritual, you're really wise, you're really awake, then you have no goal, no path, no destination. But I feel, there's a way that we can frame things that does make sense, or that does have a validity. I'm not denying that. But I feel that to really appreciate the Buddha's teaching, and to let this be something that is a genuine liberating quality, it's helpful to understand that the Buddha did speak in terms of a path and a goal, as the Eightfold Path is leading somewhere. And there's a goal, which is that of liberation, or the realization of Nibbana. Or just like in the Anapanasati Sutta that we chanted earlier this evening, the Buddha lays out, this is if this is developed, then it is of great fruit and great benefit. If this work is done, of say developing mindfulness of breathing, then if that is developed, bhavana is the word for development, also the word for meditation, then there's great fruit, mahapala, great fruit, great benefit. So I feel it's helpful to appreciate, to consciously acknowledge that just by thinking in terms of a path and a goal, or working in a particular direction for a certain benefit or a good result, that's not going against the essential spiritual teachings, but rather it's an important part of it. And the fabric of the Buddha's teaching is around the Eightfold Path, and the development of that path leading towards liberation, towards enlightenment, to Nibbana. This is say, a mistake that, or an impression that people have. And it comes up very easily because in our society we have the kind of thank goodness it's Friday, or oh, here comes the weekend, I can't wait till this is over. When this ends, then I can be peaceful. Even sometimes waiting for the meditation bell to ring, waiting for the sitting to be over so we can relax. When the sitting is supposed to be the main relaxing part, but oh, thank goodness the bell's gone. That there's this mentality of waiting for this thing that I'm supposed to be doing to be over, so then there can be peace, and that anything that is being done is somehow an intrusion upon peace. And waiting to retire, even waiting to retire as an abbot, or waiting to retire from your job, or waiting to let go of your position in teaching in a university or a school, or waiting for the kids to grow up so you can things can be peaceful. That there's this way the mind looks upon any kind of activity, any kind of doing, as some sort of intrusion upon peace. And again, this is a generalization, I acknowledge. This is not necessarily how it is for all of us all of the time. But I think most of us would recognize, that's looking forward to the, leaving the place where you are. We're looking forward to a holiday, looking forward to coming to California, to make a visit. That we place that kind of quality of peace or fulfillment or ease after this work has been done, after this thing that I'm responsible for, I'm involved in. That once that is over, then. So I feel it's important to appreciate that in the Buddha's teaching, right effort, samma vayamo, is part of that Eightfold Path, or even talking in terms of a path and a goal. This is very much a part of the Buddha's way. So there has to be a manner in which work can be done, direction can be taken, that is in accordance with peace, that it's not a compromise, but rather it's a manifestation. It's a way of peace, not just a way to peace, but it's as a way that we can give direction to our lives, we can cultivate, we can develop things, and that can be genuinely something that is peaceful and joyful. The earlier conversation today, this came up, and I feel it's very useful, beneficial for us to understand that it's not the having a direction or engaging in activity or having a development plan or working that is a problem or is necessarily stressful or burdensome, but it's always the attitude with which any kind of activity or any kind of work is held. The attitude is what makes the difference. Attitude is everything. And even being completely by yourself, alone in a kuti in the forest, or when there is no thing to be doing, when you are on your holiday, you can still make it stressful. Even when you're all alone, there's nothing to do, the mind can still get stressed about the present moment experience. In the Buddha's explanation of the Four Noble Truths, in the very first discourse he gave to his 5 companions in the deer park in Varanasi, just after his enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, then he journeyed to Varanasi and reconnected with his 5 former companions, and he gave this teaching on the middle way and the Four Noble Truths. And when he was describing the second noble truth, the cause of discontent, the cause of dissatisfaction, of dukkha, then he described there are these 3 kinds of craving, of tanha, which are the cause of that sense of dissatisfaction and dis-ease. And probably many of you, most of you, are familiar with this. Some of you probably not. So when he laid out, this is what the cause of that feeling of dissatisfaction, discontent is. The first one is craving for sense pleasure, kama tanha, which is when we think about craving, then that's usually the kind of area that the mind thinks of in craving for excitement or delicious food or beautiful things to see or to hear or to engage with. But the other two kinds of craving are much more subtle. They're harder to notice, and they're more insidious. They kind of slide in the back door. They're like the coronavirus. They kind of might be in the air or they might not be. You're not quite sure whether it's there, whether these particular viruses are going to get into the system. And these are called the craving to become or to be, bhava tanha, or the craving to not be, the craving for annihilation, or to not feel, to not exist. Bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. And over the years, particularly listening to Ajahn Amaro's teachings, living with him, practicing with him, he would spend a lot of time explaining these qualities and how it's through the influence of those two kinds of craving, the desire to be, the desire to not be, that we tend to make a problem out of work, out of doing, out of making effort, because the mind gets influenced by the desire to become, the desire to get rid of, and that can very easily influence not just our work life but also our meditation. And that's why any kind of doing, any kind of activity can feel stressful or burdensome, and we're waiting for it to be over so we'll feel comfortable or feel happy or feel at ease, because when the heart is tied up with the desire to become, I've got to get somewhere, I want to be something, I want to make a good impression, or the desire to not be, the vibhava tanha, I want to get away from this, I want to not feel this, I want to get rid of these difficult thoughts, these unruly emotions, I want to get away from these difficult people, or this, I want to not feel this. When the heart is tied up with craving and to get something that we haven't got, or to be something that we are not, or to get rid of something that we feel we're burdened by, and to get rid of that, then when the heart is tied up with that, then that's one of the direct causes of that sense of distress and dissatisfaction, dukkha. And the reason why I found it so helpful with Luang Por Sumedho talking about this and describing this over the years in meditation is that it can disguise itself very easily as following the meditation instruction. To sit down, focus your attention, concentrate on the breath, lay aside the habitual chattering of the mind. Say, okay, I'll make the effort to stop my mind from chattering. I'll make the effort to concentrate. And that even though it can feel like we're following the instruction that we're given in the suttas or by a meditation teacher, then what we don't notice is that it's the sense of self is that's what's insidious, or sliding in through the back door, or being breathed in unconsciously, is that I need to get rid of my distracted thoughts. I need to get concentrated. I want to develop jhana. I've got to get rid of my defilements. The I've got to get rid of. I've got to become. I want to get. The I, me and mine element is the troublemaker. That's what slides into the mix and is the direct cause of difficulty or dukkha. So when we are, say, developing meditation, or just in our work life or our home life, or trying to engage in any task, then if we bring attention to those two qualities, the desire to become and the desire to get rid of, and the mind notices those and sees how much that element of self-view and conceit comes into the picture, then it can be recognized, look at that, there's me trying to get somewhere, me trying to get rid of something, me trying to not be this way so that I can be that way. And just getting to feel that quality of what's called I-making and mind-making ahankara and mamankara, getting to know the feel of that sort of coming in and having its influence. Once that's known and recognized, then it can be let go of. So that it's not the doing and acting, or say, setting the intention to focus upon the breath, or to set the body in an upright posture, or to let go of distracted thoughts. Those intentions and efforts are not the problem. It's I've got to get concentrated, I've got to get rid of my distracted thoughts, I need to wake up, I need to get rid of my defilements. The I-making and mind-making, that's the stressor, that's the agent, the virus that's causing the tension in the system. So that when those qualities of the craving to become and to be, or the craving to get rid of, when they're recognized and let go of, then effort can be made, direction can be given, completely free of self-view, and so what guides our choices, and that direction is rather mindfulness and wisdom, rather than me wanting to be like this or me wanting to not be like that. And so that I feel this is extremely helpful to get a sense of how that works, so that then, rather than trying to find peace when when the weekend comes, or when the holiday comes, or when retirement comes, or when the bell goes at the end of the meditation, it's rather even in the act of working, of doing, of making choices and engaging in effort, it is itself peaceful. It's not just something on the way to peace, but there's a joyfulness and ease even in the process of acting and doing and choosing and working. In the Buddha's description of right effort, when he sort of divides up the quality of effort into its component parts, then he describes it there's 4 different elements to it. So there's first of all, the restraining of the unwholesome from arising, samvara. So the intention to not let unwholesome qualities, say of greed or hatred, delusion, to arise, or restlessness or dullness. So the conscious restraining from the unwholesome from arising. If it has arisen, then so the second element is if there is unwholesomeness, the mind is agitated, or is irritated, or is filled with desire and craving for something, or is sleepy, or say fearful, then recognizing those unwholesome obstructive qualities and letting go of them. So if the unwholesome has arisen, to let go, pahanati, let go. Then the third element of right effort is the conscious cultivation of the wholesome. So, as in the Anapanasati Sutta, setting the intention to focus the mind upon the breathing, to take that as a wholesome meditation object, to consciously cultivate concentration or loving kindness and compassion, wisdom, brightness of mind. And then the fourth element is, if the wholesome has arisen, then to maintain it. So that to develop or to cultivate is bhavana, and then anurakkhana is to protect or to cherish, to maintain in being. So when we hear those words like restraining, letting go, cultivating and maintaining, it can sound like quite a lot of doing. And that the mind, out of the habits of self-centered thinking, we can assume, I've got to restrain the unwholesome from arising. If the unwholesome's arisen, I've got to let go of it. Or I should get more concentrated. Or I should have loving kindness. I should be more wise, more awake, more alert. I've got to keep this loving kindness in being. I've got to stay concentrated. But with the development of the practice, then there's a recognition of that I-making and mind-making gets noticed, that becomes more apparent. And there's, with that quality of mindfulness and awareness, that it's like noticing that particular tone, like a sort of smell in the room or a sort of sound in the background, That, oh, I know that. That's a familiar smell. I know that sound. That there's a recognition of that I-making and mind-making, and when that's let go of, by being recognized and being known and feeling the tensing quality that comes from that can be let go of, and then the heart can relax into the work that's being done, free of any kind of conceit, free of any kind of self-view, so that the direction is being given. There's a goal and there's a path that's being followed. Energy is being put into that, but it's not stressful or burdensome. There's no kind of a quality of tension in the heart around that we are able to make choices and give direction, put energy into what needs to be done, whether it's in the family life, the work life, monastery life, meditation practice, inside or outside, internal or external. Then that work is being done, but it's not. You're not waiting for it to be over in order to be peaceful. And this is very much the approach of Luang Por Chah over the years, when people would come to him and say, "Oh, Luang Por, it's so difficult. I got my job. I'm a school teacher. I have to take care of all these responsibilities at school, and then I come home and there's the family, and it's so hard to practice. I've got no time to meditate. I've got the kids and the job and the house to look after, and so I've got no time to practice." And he would, or people looking after their fields and growing the crops and such like, whatever kind of work people would do, they would tend to say the same thing. So, "Luang Por, it's no time to meditate, no time to practice. I've got so many responsibilities, so many duties." And he'd say, "Have you got time to eat? Have you got time to breathe?" And they'd say, "Well, yeah, I've got time to breathe." "Well, if you've got time to breathe, you've got time to practice." So over and over again, he would emphasize that the practice isn't just sitting quietly in the meditation hall or walking up and down the meditation path, but it was in washing your alms bowl, it's in sweeping the leaves off the path, it's in repairing the roof of your hut, it's going on the alms round through the village, or for the lay community, it's tending your rice fields, it's helping the kids to get dressed to go to school in the morning. It's like paying attention to what you're doing, watching the moods that come and go, feelings of comfort and discomfort, feelings of enthusiasm, feelings of sort of depression and sadness. And over and over again he would say that if you're breathing, if you're alive, then that's the field of practice, that you don't make a distinction between being in the monastery or being in the home, being out in the fields or being in the meditation hall. Life happens all the time, wherever we are. There's a ever-changing field of experience. So if we bring attention to that, then it's not a matter of whether we are engaged in activity internally or externally. What's the attitude towards it? Whether we're feeling comfort or discomfort, what's the attitude towards it? Whether we are experiencing liking or disliking, what's the attitude towards it? And so that opening up the field of practice, even though we create beautiful meditation halls like this, we establish times to sit down and be quiet and to use formal practice to bring focused attention in a very deliberate way to the mind and what it's doing. But that doesn't mean to say that the real practice or reality is only available inside the meditation hall or when our eyes are closed, but rather this is a particular environment to develop skills and expertise, so that then that can be applied in a broader range of experience in the family life, on the road, in the working world, as much as in the monastery. And when we really open the heart to the whole field of experience, we realize that liking and disliking are of equal value, success and failure are of equal value, being appreciated or not being appreciated are of equal value. That he would regularly, Luang Por Chah would regularly use this as a way of helping his students, people who would go to him for advice, as a way of seeing the world in a different fashion. Because in a worldly way, success is good, failure is bad, approval is good, disapproval is being appreciated is good, not being appreciated is bad. We tend to think in these very sort of heavily conditioned worldly ways. But he would say, chop, my chop, tatagan, liking, disliking, they're of equal value. And that goes right against our worldly thinking. No. When I like something, when I get what I like, that's good. When I don't get what I like, that's bad. Or I get what I dislike, that's bad. So that when the field of practice is opened, and we look at just the ups and downs and the different aspects of our ordinary everyday activity, then we realize the possibility of wisdom and the capacity to be awake, to be aware, and to end suffering is ever present. It's just up to this mind to see what's the attitude, how is this moment being held. When we get a feeling for how that those qualities of the desire to become, the desire to get rid of, when they're recognized and let go of, then we find that peace is and freedom is not to be found just when some particular barrier disappears, or some particular event ends, or some particular activity stops, but rather that it's always here in the attitude. Peace, freedom is in the attitude, in the way that the heart relates to the momentary experience, so that the world is a world of limitations. So this hall has walls and a roof. It's a limited space. We're subject to the force of gravity. We've experienced the limits of the material world. Our body exists in a limited space. We have limited amounts of strength and abilities to see or to hear, to think. So in the conditioned realm and the results of birth, they bring limitation in the worldly sense, but the mind which is aware of those worldly conditions, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, that is limitless. The awareness itself has no limit. It's boundless. It has that intrinsic quality of freedom to it. So the mind which knows the limited is not limited. That which knows the person of our thoughts, our feelings, the personality, our body, our mind, our memories, that which knows the person, isn't a person, it's not personal. That quality of awareness is not female or male, not old or young, it's not British or American or Thai or Chinese, or doesn't have an age, doesn't have those personal qualities. It's aware, it's awake. And so that in the development of the practice, what is being clarified is that quality of awake, aware knowing, that which knows the world, the lokavitu, that knows the world, is attuned to the world, but is not limited by the world. And again, earlier today, there was a conversation that we were having about this, and I feel that one of the attributes of the Buddha that we recite in the chanting, the Vijja Charana Sampanno, is very, very worthy of contemplation. So that the Vijja means knowing or awareness, or the awakened, aware quality of the heart. So this is an attribute of the Buddha, is that of Vijja, awareness, the opposite of avijja, ignorance, not knowing. Vijja is knowing, or awakened awareness. So that is the awake, aware heart. And then charana means conduct or activity. And so that they're a partnership, they're a combination, so that the Buddha's transcendent wisdom and the quality of awareness which is boundless, limitless, timeless, non-personal, its partner is charana, or activity, so that kind of transcendent awareness is not dissociated or spaced out or disconnected with the world, but rather that is totally attuned to the world, so that then when the mind is fully awake, fully aware, and is that boundless quality is realized, it's at the same time it is perfectly attuned to the time, the place, the situation. And if we read the suttas or look at the life of the Buddha, he was extraordinarily, attuned and observant with the people who he was with. If he's talking to farmers, he'd use examples of looking after animals, how to take care of cows. If he's talking to a carpenter, he'd talk about how to shape wood. If he's talking to a monarch, he'd talk about how to run the country. If he's talking to a doctor, he'd talk about taking care of the body, and so on and so forth. So he is extraordinarily sensitive and attuned to the time, the place, the situation, coming up with examples and similes and images that the people he was talking to could understand, could relate to. So that that quality of charana, or activity, it's a way that perfect wisdom or awakened aware quality then takes shape as say mindful and caring activity in the world. Harmlessness, honesty, and a generosity of spirit that the Buddha showed, so that there is that quality of complete non-attachment and sort of limitless, say the boundless quality of the heart, but that its partner, I would say, is an attunement, a sensitivity to the time, the place, the situation. So if something needs to be said, then you say something. If nothing needs to be said, then you keep quiet. If you need to be serious, then you can be serious. If you need to crack a joke, you crack a joke. You need to be warm and friendly, you can be warm and friendly. If you need to be cool and remote, then you can be cool and remote. That the heart adapts to situations in a natural and intuitive manner, in an unforced way. And if we, again, looking at the life of the Buddha, or the great enlightened teachers over the years, and that you can see that's how they would operate and they would function in the world. At tea time, there was a question about stream entry and having stream entry as a goal for one's life, and something that I've raised up as a theme in the last few years of consciously setting a goal or an intention, an aim for say, what one can look to in terms of one's life, or a goal or a direction to set for one's life. And again, sometimes people would think, well, if you're a good Buddhist, you don't have any goals, you don't have any ambitions. That it's all about letting go, right? But I would say that the conscious intention to set a direction, like I will to use this life to understand the true nature of things, and to live in a way that is leading towards the abandonment of greed, hatred, and delusion, the cultivation of virtue, of mental focus and wisdom. This is a wholesome and beautiful thing. The Buddha many times he emphasized the value of stream entry, of that level of realization. There's many teachings where he points this out as something that's really worthwhile, of great value, and there's a time where he reached down and sort of scratched the ground and said, "What do you think? What's greater in quantity, the amount of dirt under my fingernail, or the great earth itself?" So, Venerable Sir, the amount of dirt under your fingernail is very, very small, and the great earth itself is very, very large. And he said, well, similarly, the amount of suffering one who has reached made the breakthrough to stream entry, has reached that level, the amount of suffering they can expect to experience in the future is comparable to the dirt under my fingernail. The amount of suffering someone who has not made the breakthrough can expect to experience is comparable to the great earth. It goes through a whole series of teachings that gathered together in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Connected Discourses. I think it's the Connected Discourses, that section is on the breakthrough, if you want to look those up. The first one is called the fingernail. I think it's the 13th section of the Samyutta. And also as later on in the another place in the teachings, he said, if someone were to offer you a deal whereby if you were, and this is quite gory, so there's a sort of a kind of what they call a trigger warning. this particular analogy. So I said, if someone offered you the choice that if you were skewered by 100 spears 3 times a day, in the morning, at midday, and in the evening, you're skewered by 100 spears piercing you 3 times a day for 100 years. Which is, if you do the math on that, it comes to about 10 million skewerings. So 3 times a day with 100 spears for 100 every day for 100 years. But at the end of that time, you are guaranteed to make the breakthrough to stream entry. Then it'll be wise of you to make the deal. So I think one of your chapters begins with that. In when the book of that we put together, Luang Por Pasanno and I put together, the teachings on Nibbana, he did 4 chapters on stream entry, and I think that one of them begins with that very compelling analogy. Yes, it is a bit gory, I appreciate. So. But the Buddha was also extremely gifted in getting people's attention. So that idea of being pierced by 100 spears 3 times a day, every day for 100 years, it's like, ow! Serious ow! that if you, at the end of that time, you could be guaranteed absolutely that you'd reach stream entry, you should make the deal, that amount of misery and pain is worth it. So he's gifted at getting our attention. I'm not trying to belittle that, but it is a powerful way of getting our attention. Saying this is something worthwhile. This is not trivial. This is something really important. So there are many instances or ways that the Buddha encouraged that. So I feel yes, it's a worthwhile goal, and also is saying how within Buddhist psychology, Buddhist cosmology, it said if one who has reached the level of stream entry, when the mind has matured to that level of insight, then it says that the gates to the lower realms are closed. Such a one cannot be reborn in the realm of animals, or hungry ghosts are in the hell realms. They can only be born in the human realm or the Deva realms. And that there's total enlightenment is guaranteed within 7 lifetimes. That's an unshakable, irrefutable fact. So those kind of things are stated over and over. So the Buddha makes a lot of emphasis on the value of the mind reaching that kind of level of maturity or insight. And so I feel that taking that seriously, okay, he makes a strong point that this is a really valuable, important potential that we have as human beings, and also that that is something within the scope that we have as human beings. And when we say, well, that's totally beyond me, or I'm just an ordinary, an amateur Buddhist, I'm only a new meditator. But I think it's also important to recognize that a lot of the the conditions that are needed for the development of reaching that point. The kind of people who want to come and spend a weekend at a monastery. I wouldn't say it guarantees stream entry, but I think maybe Luang Por Pasano can correct me if I'm wrong, but Luang Por Chah would say if you've got enough faith to come and spend 5 years at Wat Pah Pong, you've got enough qualities of endurance to come and spend five years keeping the precepts, trying to keep the routine, doing your best to be mindful every day. That shows you got most of the ingredients necessary to realize stream entry, and that you wouldn't guarantee that if you just hold on for 5 years you will. The mind would reach that level, but the ingredients are there, and that so I feel it's not something out of the reach of the kind of people who come and spend a weekend at Abhayagiri. That there's enough faith and commitment to spend a Saturday night listening to a Dhamma talk, enduring aching legs and aching back, and to listen to teachings rather than just finding other ways to entertain ourselves or just fill the mind with exciting, interesting things, or just find ways of switching off and not feeling. So either going the Kama-tanha, Bhava-tanha, Vibhava-tanha, but rather to choose to follow the track of how to be awake, how to recognize the things that are obstructing the heart, how to let go of them, how to free the heart from its apparent limitations. So, in that respect, one of the most helpful teachings, and Luang Por Pasano emphasized this over the years, and I've greatly appreciated, is where the Buddha lists of 4 qualities that are supportive of stream entry, and that so that if this is taken as a serious goal, a goal that can be set in place, free of self-view, free of I-making and mind-making, but just with the wise and wholesome intention of doing the best that we can with this human life, to set that kind of direction. So setting that direction free of self-view, free of conceit. There are the 4 qualities that are supportive of that goal being realized, that fruit, that great fruit, that mahapala being tasted. First one is drawing close to good-hearted people. Sapurisa sangseva. Sat means good or true, real. Purisa is a person. Sangseva is association with or drawing close to. So again, without I would say, without being kind of conceited or boastful, the choice to gather together with like-minded people who are good-hearted, who want to train the mind and cultivate the wholesome and the good. That this is an example, gathering together on a Saturday evening, living here in the monastery, drawing close to good people. That sapurisa is a good-hearted person or a well-rounded person. So that the first of the factors supportive of stream entry is, who do you choose to spend your time with? Who do you draw close to? And we make choices, in our home life, in the work life, in our social world, who do you draw close to? And I think it also spreads out into the media. Like, what do you fill your mind with in terms of the news or the ways of gathering information, or what you put into your mind in terms of the information technology and such like. Who do you associate with? What do you spend your time putting your attention onto? So sapurisa sangseva, drawing close to good people, association with good people. They are making those choices to draw near to the wholesome, the noble, the benevolent. Then the second one is sadhamma savana, is spending time listening to good teachings. And sadhamma, the good dhamma or the true dhamma, sadhamma savana. So again, what do you do with your time? Do you choose to listen to spiritual teachings, to say bring attention to that which is going to lead towards clarity, to lead towards say unburdening the heart, or does it Do you listen to things or watch things that lead to complication and confusion, or greater sense of self-centeredness and self-concern, self-inflation, self-criticism? So sadhamma savana, to choose to listen to things, to attend to things, to read things that conduce to genuine liberation, to awakening, to things that are ennobling of the heart. The third one is yoniso manasikara, which is wise reflection. So then and again, this is a quality that very strongly emphasized or embodied in Luang Por Chah's, his own practice, his own example in his teaching. So come down to Luang Por Sumedho and to others over the years, how that sense of kind of inner curiosity, looking at things, like examining. When you feel excited, oh, where's this excitement come from? When you feel upset, oh, I didn't like to hear that, did I? I'm feeling really annoyed. Oh, that's interesting. That kind of interest, curiosity, that sense of exploring why the mind feels excited or feels sleepy or feels depressed or feels sad. Liking things, disliking things, just exploring and examining the process of your own mind, wise reflection. Looking at your own mind, your own character, the world around us, in the land, the people, the ways of nature, to be, in a sense, cultivating a rounded intelligence and a sense of investigation, not just sort of switching off or taking things for granted or cruising, running on automatic, but rather that exploring and like and dislike, success and failure, happiness and unhappiness, comfort and discomfort, being interested in how the mind works with those different experiences, yoniso manasikara, exploring, getting to the root of things. And then the last one, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about effort, dhammānudhamma patipati, which is a very long Pali word, which means practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma. And it can be a bit of an obscure idea, or think, well, how does that work? But we can practice Dhamma in accordance with self-view, like, I'm going to go on this meditation retreat and I'm going to really get somewhere, or I'm going to get rid of my defilements, or I'm going to sit longer than the next monk. He thinks he's a good meditator. I'll show him I'm better than him. Remember one time many years ago, we had a retreat at Spirit Rock, and one of I think it was Luang Por Sumedho was leading the retreat, and one of the monks who was on the retreat got into a kind of slow walking competition. There's in the basement area at Spirit Rock, there's a number of people will be using that space for walking meditation. And this monk, and not deliberately, I think he didn't set out to have a competition, but he found himself, and I'm looking at you, and I'm not talking about you, Ajahn. Just in case anyone's wondering, I'm just randomly looking at Ajahn Yaniko. But it wasn't him, he wasn't the monk involved.
I don't think I have that problem.
But he found himself trying to walk slower than the person next to him, and there was a kind of slow walking competition, who can walk most slowly. And that it's like, this is not practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma. This is just the kind of worldly mentality. Like, I'm going to show them, I'm the best meditator. I'm going to sit longer, or walk slower, or sit straighter, or be the most impressive. And that so that we can easily let those worldly attitudes take over the efforts to practice Dhamma. And so that, what I was saying about effort, when effort is overtaken by the desire to become and the desire to get rid of, then we can be really sincere and put years and years of effort with great dedication into our practice. But if it's dominated by, I've got to get jhana, I'm not concentrated enough, I need to get rid of my chattering thoughts, I should try harder, I'm not getting anywhere. or I really am accomplished, I'm really much better than the rest of the people in the group. That those worldly attitudes slide into the picture and take over. And I've known people years and years of very sincere, heartful sort of dedication to the practice, but all of the effort wrapped up in, I should, I must, I've got to get rid of, I got to be, I want to be. And so there's a kind of sort of tragic quality that making incredible, dedicated, sincere effort, but then the mind hindering itself with it all being wrapped up in, I should, I must, I want to be, I don't want to be, I've got to get rid of, I've got to become. And so that sincere and so dedicated effort being obstructed by self-view, by conceit, and so it's rather like trying to drive with the handbrake on. It's like we're not getting anywhere, but you haven't realized you've still got the handbrake on. That's why progress is obstructed or is difficult. So that Dhamma Anudhamma Patipati, practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma, I feel that's a lot to do with learning how to practice Dhamma free of self-view, so that what guides the effort, what guides the direction of the practice is mindfulness and wisdom. So it's putting effort into letting go of distracted thoughts, of developing concentration, developing wisdom, developing loving kindness, but all of that being motivated and guided by mindfulness and wisdom, rather than me trying to get rid of the unwholesome or me trying to become enlightened. And so that is encapsulated in one of Luang Por Sumedho's teachings that he would emphasize a lot in past years. He would say to have the thought, I'm an unenlightened person who's got to do something now in order to become enlightened in the future. That's wrong view. If you start from that, if you start from ignorance, you end up with dukkha. I am an unenlightened person. Ding, wrong view. But in our ordinary everyday thinking, I am an unenlightened person, and I have got to do something now, and I do want to become enlightened in the future. What's wrong with that, Ajahn? But I recollect having exactly that thought many years ago. But Luang Por Sumedho would say, notice how the mind is phrasing it. I am an unenlightened person. That's what I am. You're starting from self-view, that I am a person. Well, he said, if you change the paradigm from I'm an unenlightened person who's got to do something now in order to become enlightened in the future, to being awake now, being enlightened now, the awake mind, seeing the way things are here and now. And I confess it took a long time for that to really sink in and understand what he was meaning. But eventually, I see. It's like that's the mind is sort of buying into self-view. I am an unenlightened person, seeing that as an absolute reality rather than just a mode of expression, and instead say, being awake now, that the mind which knows the person isn't a person. That aware, awake quality, it knows the body, it knows the personality, it knows feelings and perceptions arising and passing, but that awareness isn't a person, it's the awake mind knowing the way things are here and now. So you change the paradigm from the I'm an unenlightened person who's got to do something now to be enlightened in the future, to the Buddha seeing the Dhamma, being awake to the way things are here and now. And that when that's just one way of phrasing it or configuring it, but when there is that practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma, that's the fourth of those supportive qualities of stream entry. And then once there's a sense of how that works, how effort can be made, sincere, committed effort can be made, but without me, without the person being there as a doer, me the practicer, me the experiencer, but rather that effort is coming from a quality of mindfulness and wisdom, the awake heart attuning to the present reality. There's a different tone to that, a different quality. And so that I would say that's the essence of practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma is freeing that effort from self-view and from conceit, and then that is directly supportive of that realization of stream entry, and those four qualities. So the drawing close to good people, listening to the good Dhamma, wise reflection, and practicing Dhamma in accordance with Dhamma. If those are recollected and put into use, taken seriously, then that's creating the conditions, creating the environment that is most supportive and most helpful for that realization of the breakthrough, say seeing of the deathless, knowing of the amata Dhamma, the deathless Dhamma, that is most fully and completely supported. So I offer these thoughts for consideration this evening.